Thoughtless, casual gaming. Thoughtless, casual gaming. Thoughtless, casual gaming. Thoughtless, casual gaming.
Hello, you're listening to Thoughtless Casual Gaming with Brett and Jace. We are a Geelong-based gaming podcast where we play games badly and then talk shit about them. And today, we have no special guests, so we've got no one to lean on.
Oh, fuck.
We've got a bit of an all-round everything and nothing episode, I think.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, we have played games badly and we now
Correct.
get to talk shit about them. So I feel like this is kind of the what it says on the tin episode.
Yeah, we've read the mission statement.
We have a mission, we have a vision, we have a strategic direction. I'm spending a bit too much time in meetings at the moment, and the lingo is creeping in.
Keep it simple, stupid. So let's just jump straight in, shall we? What sort of hobby have you been doing?
Bits and shits in that I am trying very hard to focus on one thing at a time.
It's
really
not easy.
hard. No. There's definite squirrel moments, but I suppose the two things I've done since we've spoken, I think, one is the 40k paint comp entry for the Throw the Dice one.
Mm-hmm.
Done and dusted, and that
really
one's
nice.
in. So that's in at the store. With a little bit of time left to go for anyone else who's trying to sneak an entry in. You got to the end of the month, so that is still a thing. But yeah, that one, and trying to knock off the Amazons for this Sevens League is basically it. So again, they're over half done now. I've got linemen to go, and then I will invariably need more linemen. So
and you'll need to paint them the same.
Yeah.
That'll be the trick.
That's fine. No, it'll be fine. It's all good. It's kind of fun. I am enjoying, particularly for things like this where I just want to get them done. Just contrast is so much fun. It's so much fun to paint with. It gets things done really quickly. And you can kind of play it's kind of one of those ones where it's kind of safe to color outside the lines a lot of the time. So
yes, yeah, I found that too.
Yeah.
So you're doing sort of slap chop with this?
Yeah. So they are black and white to start with, sort of
Mm-hmm.
through. So I'm basically doing like a zenithal prime, so black up through to white, and then I'm going through with a brush and doing extra highlights basically to make them extra bright, and it lets you add things like texture and scratches and shiny bits and whatnot. Then contrast. The only thing I'm not using contrast for is skin, because I cannot get contrast skin to work for me. And I'm painting them a little bit darker. So
I've found with contrast skin, it's really, most of the contrast skin paints that I've used are very much the shadows, and you need to layer it up.
Yeah, so I've basically been using the Gulliman Flesh as a wash on the skin.
Mm-hmm.
So the skin is the one that I'm doing, because I'm painting them a little bit darker. I'm basically starting with like a dark reddy brown up to a skin color that's probably like a highlight color that's a bit brighter than I want, and then using the Gulliman Flesh contrast as almost a wash to tie it all back in.
Okay.
But I've found the thing that's getting it to the point I like, I think, across the board is basically doing it twice, painting the model twice, which sounds kind of counterintuitive, but basically doing the slap chop type, sketch, the contrast, and then doing another extreme white highlight over the top, and then a really thin layer of the contrast, the lightest contrast, and it just brightens everything up that little bit more and gives you a little bit more. So that's been sort of the approach for him, but it's still super quick. So it is good fun.
Yeah, I'm trying. No, I'm not really trying. My lizards are still sort of at exactly the point they were last time. I need to do a bit more work because, I mean, they're sort of
It's so
kind
close.
of they're halfway. Like they're not close. They're halfway, but they're popping and they're looking good. But I haven't done any work on them. I think even since we started playing this league. So if we go the full, we've got two divisions with 8 people. So if we go the full 7 games, everybody plays everyone in their division.
Mm-hmm.
Still got 4 games to go. I can get
Yeah.
them done. I can get them done.
Absolutely. That is the good thing I think about leagues of this length and size is that you start with an unpainted team and they're painted by the end,
Yeah.
and then you move on to a new team the next time
The
round.
problem with this one is that I've got the full set of 11. Well, it's not 11, it's 16. So I've got
Yep.
another 9 models here sitting painted, which are slightly less painted than the ones that I have halfway done.
Yeah.
So I know that as soon as I finish the 7 that I've got for my team, or the 8 rather that I've got for my team, I will need to keep going with the other 9 that I've got here. So anyway, we'll get there.
That's the thing. So beyond that, I said I've focused on those. I've assembled a couple of Underworlds warbands that I had laying around that I wanted to do. So I finally did the new Zinch ones, the whatever the hell they're called. The
Zinch.
first 2 models. Oh, there's a warband name. I don't know.
I know that.
Either way,
There's Zinch.
yeah, but those ones, right? The dude with all his little spawny dickheads. The first 2 models made me want to stab my eyes out, and then they were fine.
Because
It's
you
one of
were
those.
complaining at one point about putting those things together.
Yeah, so I did the leader guy and the biggest of the spawny friends, and it's just you kind of had to insert a piece over this, but under that bit, around the back of this one, and thread the needle through here. So they were just tricky the way that they were cut up more than anything, and of course they're super fine little like details as well. So as you're trying to thread things around each other, they're threatening to break off. Anyway, so I did them, and I did the Vampire Warband as well. They're now together.
Yep. Excellent.
But
I
that's
really
as
want
far
to
as I
play
got.
with mine. I
Okay,
love those vampires.
We're
They're
on,
so good.
yes, vampires. I get it now. It's like we're on camera. Can we not do it right now? Or at least can we do it with a lot of gratuitous eye contact?
You can't see me from the waist down. It's fine.
I mean, not in this camera.
I do have 3 cameras set up here, one of which is not plugged in, but that's fine. I've been vaguely putting color on one of my warbands as well, actually. So the new Skaven warband. So I've been sort of starting with contrast on those. So they're sort of, I don't know, they're not even halfway done, but they've got color on them. So it's 5 of those I've been painting up slowly, as well as, I worked on the explosion on Gwenpool for Crisis Protocol. So I've done a little bit more with her, but I've reached that point now where I'm sort of out of the contrast stage, and I'm going to have to do her really bright pink uniform.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did a paint a Nurgle guy for Richard's thing.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to win any awards or anything like that, but I've got something in for him, which is good.
Yeah, nice.
Because I felt guilty not giving him something when I gave Elliot at GW one for his Warhammer paint thing.
Yeah, and since both of them have entered all of ours, I think it's only fair.
Touche. They both keep threatening to, but neither of them do it.
I'll get them, and I figure if nothing else, then I can just guilt.
Yes. Not getting a single thing from me anymore until you enter one of ours. But the only other painting I've done has been kind of non-hobby related, but I ripped apart 2 pop vinyls and then put them back together again in separate ways. So I ripped the head off one, stuck it on the body to another, and then painted it up. And there's a picture I put in the Discord today and it's currently sitting up at work. So there is a pop vinyl which looks a lot like me, but with a lot more purple in his beard. So I really need to do
he's
mine
had an
too.
easier life than you, I will say.
So
So,
that was a bit of a surprise for the guys at
but
work.
quickly talk to me about the shirt on it.
So the shirt was nice and easier than I expected. So realistically, all I did, it was the body was like Mike from Stranger Things. So he had like a Hellfire Club white t-shirt with black sleeves on. I just painted the white over. So I painted the white over the Hellfire Club logo. And then I painted the white pink.
Mhm.
And then
Correct.
good old Clinton, Mr. Whack the Ewok, our only fan, came through with the goods, dropped in one day and brought the same transfers that he had used for his banners for his bloodletters.
That's where it was from. I get it now. Yes, this all falls into place.
Nice and simple, and it was very straightforward. And he even made and put a video on his YouTube channel for me to follow, which was like above and beyond what he needed to do. It was so nice of him. But yeah, that transfer just stuck on really easily. Just a bit of fiddling around, making sure it was straight and all the rest of it. And after that, let it dry, bit of varnish over the top, done.
Happy days.
It was
Glorious.
a very, very simple paint thing. Like all I did was paint the beard from black to purple and the t-shirt, and that was it. Stuck it all together. All I need to do now is stick a camera in it, and it can stand above the counter at work and make sure people are working.
You could put it in the eyes. It'll be the best.
Yes,
Oh.
yes. Have one normal blue eye and one red eye just blinking.
Terminator 2 style. I love it. But, who says that these hobby skills aren't transferable?
Well, now I've got a few people at work going, maybe you should make one for such and such a person, such and such a person.
Forget that. I feel like there is a thing here where you could do almost, how a lot of people started doing repaints of action figures and stuff?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I feel like a pop vinyl repaint type event could be fun. Not necessarily, I mean, with whoever, but I feel like you work in a place that
it's not a bad idea.
Could do a lot of it.
We could almost run one of those. Way back when you helped me out with that present for Phil, where I took an ultramarine pop vinyl and we airbrushed that and made it not ultramarines, but then painted it ultramarine.
Yeah,
but it was unique.
This is it, right? We painted the
still
blue
an
thing blue.
ultramarine.
Yeah. But I reckon there's a pop vinyl repaint option here that could be fun.
All right. Well, let's store that away.
Yeah.
What about purchases? You bought yourself anything?
I have been so well behaved, like ridiculously well behaved, except for so I bought entry to Mayhem. That was exciting.
Mm-hmm.
So I've officially paid for my ticket to Mayhem, which is glorious.
Excellent.
I maybe bought too much music equipment again, but that's not really relevant. And that's why I'm poor and I couldn't afford to buy anything else. But the other thing that's happened that's kind of enabled me to be a little bit cheap this time around is one of our good friends, Jared, is currently renovating his house and living at the in-laws and kind of in between places. And he does not have anywhere to store his 3D printer.
Okay. Yep. So how many have you got running at once?
So, well, currently there's still only 2 because I sold my my filament one, but his is like 3 times the size of mine, and I can fit so much on there, and it's exciting. So yeah, that is a thing. It's taking a little bit of tinkering just to get it set up and running the way that I like it and all that jazz, but it's keeping me entertained.
Excellent. And he's never getting it back. That's what I'm hearing.
I mean, he has to finish renovating. And so as long as I keep sabotaging his house, I think we're good.
It looks like you're missing another wall. How did that happen?
Oh mate, you had someone ransack this place again. Why have they Why have they just stolen building supplies?
Look, I'm sure you found plenty of things that you can print.
Yeah, it's a little bit dangerous now between that, and I'm currently shopping for replacement pickups for guitars and speakers for amps and things. So it's a world of expense I do not need. And since I haven't been managed to buy Gutter Bowl yet, I haven't desperately needed anything. That's a lie. I did buy. Wait, cut and pick a minute. And minor, small little things. So George that runs Sydney Bowl. So if you are in the Sydney-ish area, there is a guy there, George, who's basically the lord of all Blood Bowl tournaments and events. The Sydney Bowl, he runs 11s, he runs 7s. He's doing a whole lot of work and a whole lot of really good stuff to pump the scene out there. And he's doing a whole bunch of merch as part of that. So dice cups and ball tokens and dice, and he's getting pictures and stuff done at the moment, all kinds of fun like that. So he flew in to one of the more recent Victorian tournaments.
Mhm.
Flew in, played it, flew out. He's doing that for a few. He's actually doing that for a few of the Vic ones. And so I convinced him to bring me down some stuff. So some, a dice cup and some dice and a ball token and just some merch to kind of, pad out the collection. But that is about as exciting as it got. I think that's all I've bought that's actually hobby related in the last little bit. I think.
Well, I've been reasonably good, but I did make one or two slight purchases. So I did get a copy, which I had pre-ordered at work, but a copy of Star Wars Shatterpoint came in.
Yes.
So I have that. It's sitting underneath my desk. Nothing is assembled. There is a box full of plastic. Like it's got, 2 full teams to battle each other and like a whole heap of scenery as well. So I think general plan is I'll probably end up splitting that with Alice, and she can have the good guys. I'll keep the bad guys. But there's still a lot of terrain and everything needs to be put together anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I did buy that and did nothing with it, but it's there. The other thing, did you back Marvel Zombies on Kickstarter?
No, I did not.
No. Okay. So apparently...
I regret that decision. Let's just be clear.
Apparently the Kickstarter is due to be shipped out and should be starting to ship out to Australia in June.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah, no, we're nearly August, but so this is, my fault because I could have either gotten the base game in the first shipment and then waited for the X-Men expansion and all the promos and stuff to come in the second shipment.
You can't do that. Who are you?
Yeah, no. So I declared to just have it all shipped out in the second shipment. So I've been sitting here waiting and kind of getting excited, but still, God knows when this thing is turning up. I had to go to Zing today. So I was in there and I happened to spy a little board game that was on sale, which happens to be this one here. So I did a little bit of research before I bought it. This is Marvel Zombies Heroes Resistance. So this is where you play as the heroes against some of the zombified other heroes.
Yes.
Now the Kickstarter is going to give me Marvel Zombies, which is you as the zombies against the heroes, and also the X-Men Resistance.
I see what's
This
happened
is not
here.
part of the Kickstarter. All of the models that are in here are included in various expansions in the Kickstarter, and I think I will get like all of them once that stuff arrives, but they're all slightly different sculpts anyway. And then, there's more dice and there's more things and stuff and whatever. Like now I can play it now if I want to. So, yeah, a grand total of $36. And I'm like, why the hell not? So I picked that up today. So while I wait for the actual Marvel zombies, I have
How to get Brett to buy everything twice?
I know, right? It's so easy. Just make me wait. Get me to pay for it all up front and then wait for it.
It's that old salesman tactic of just silence.
Yes.
It's like just wait for them to crack.
The last update was, we've noticed a few people are still trying to update their address. And I'm thinking, did I need to update my address? I mean, I've been in this house for 6 years, but I'm pretty sure that's the address I put. Well, that'll be coming at some point.
While.
I've only got that and Marvel United Multiverse or whatever it was. Still to come
I've
from
been
Kickstarter.
so good on Kickstarter recently. I've been so well behaved. Anyhow,
That's a shame.
I think since the last Grebo one that I backed, I think
I think you backed that after I backed all of mine, though.
Yeah, I've already got them and they're glorious.
I know.
I should paint them too. Ugh, it's one more thing. Anyway, here is the downside. Like, I'm looking at the box of unpainted Blood Bowl teams that I've got sitting here, knowing that I can fit more than 11's team on it at a time now. It's basically 4 hours per team. I'm in trouble. My backlog just got excessive.
Have you got a dwarf team?
Oh man, I don't hate myself that much.
So Phil hadn't convinced you?
No, I chatted to him the other day about it. He keeps having like moments of weakness where he's like, actually, I wonder if we can make a dwarf team that doesn't play like dwarves.
No, I don't think you can.
No. Things like, can we make Fumblerooski a thing? Can we get a running play dwarf team?
Or just 6 dwarves and a death roller.
I feel like that still plays like dwarves.
It still plays like dwarves, but then you after they score, you've got nothing but linemen, and you spend the rest of the game running around or walking around trying to chase.
I was about to say running.
Yeah, running. What about TV? Been watching anything recently?
Little bits and pieces. I did make a start finally. Late to the party, but here we are on the latest season of The Mandalorian. So we've slowly
You mentioned this to me the other night, and instantly I was like, "Is there another season I don't know about?"
I'm like, no, there's not. I still haven't watched Andor.
Andor is good.
I'll get there eventually, maybe one day. There's actually so many things I want to catch, and I just haven't got around to it. But we'll get there. So I did start that because I knew the wife wouldn't care. I am up to date, almost, given that it's Wednesday night, and I haven't watched the latest, but on Secret Invasion.
Yeah, so there's 6 episodes. This is the final one, isn't it? 6 episodes in the season. I've watched 4.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very Marvel.
I mean, it's very Marvel if there was no superheroes.
Look, I don't know. It's a weird watch for me because I quite enjoy Samuel Jackson. I love Ben Mendelsohn.
Mm-hmm.
And even, Emilia Clarke isn't too bad.
She's doing the thing that she's supposed to do.
Yeah.
Well,
but the story itself doesn't seem to flow like for example, I'm not going to spoil anything for anyone that hasn't watched it, but there's a death in episode 1, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And then episode 2, Samuel Jackson's like, I'm gonna make things right. I'm gonna do everything I can, and then he just doesn't seem to be doing very much.
No, I am really stuck with. I can't. Yes, Nick Fury, not a superhero, but he's supposed to be a pretty impressive dude.
Mm-hmm.
And there's still like there is moments occasionally of, oh, there's impressive dude, but it's not a consistent theme.
No,
And
I
it's
mean,
just, it's really hard to see someone. I think it's because he played such a pivotal role in the MCU. He was in such a position of authority in the MCU, and he's kind of not. He's in this. It's flipped the character on his head a little bit, and it's hard to see the same character in both those situations.
yeah, they've written the character in a different way, and he's been affected by the blip and having been gone for 5 years while Thanos did his thing.
Mm.
But it's such a contrast in the character.
And I think they refer to it, but it feels very lip servicey.
Mm-hmm.
Like there hasn't been a deep dive into the character of Nick Fury that explains what is happening now versus what is happening then.
Yeah.
There's just kind of been a couple of passing references, and it just doesn't feel like it hasn't resolved itself in my head.
Yeah. I mean, he's what, 70, mid-70s? Samuel Jackson? Yeah. So it's not like he can do many action scenes or anything these days, but
No. And
still.
he wasn't before, but I just feel like the authority he commanded in the MCU versus the authority the character has now, noting full well the situation has changed, it feels like something's not quite right.
Maybe he's a scroll.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
That'd be fun.
Anyway, yeah. You've got one episode to go. I've got two. And we will see where it goes. But so far, not
There's
my
a lot to
favorite
wrap
Marvel
up.
show.
There is a lot to wrap up. No, when you think of things like Loki and WandaVision and even bloody Falcon and Winter Soldier, the TV was doing so good.
Loki was a different one for me, but did you hear WandaVision's coming back?
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to be WandaVision. I think it's going to be a spin-off of WandaVision. I hear that Agatha Harkness is getting a big...
Yeah, no, she's getting her own show, but I believe, if I'm not mistaken, WandaVision itself is coming back. But I could be wrong. Yeah, no, Secret Invasion's only... Yeah, no, Vision Wanda. The Secret Invasion is only 6 episodes.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I have really enjoyed how much the TV has influenced the wider cinematic universe. So it'll be curious to see how this kind of plays with the future movies.
Yep. But who knows what they're doing with the future movies? I don't think they do.
No,
there hasn't been any sort of overlying tying together structure that they had at the start.
No, it really feels like they're in this state of kind of, they've had the latest, the kind of the original, the OG guys have kind of disbanded. They're done with pretty much. And they're lining up the next big kind of phase of MCU. But we're kind of in that in-between phase where we're kind of getting rid of the old. We're still introducing a lot of the new characters. It's just, it hasn't got the same momentum that it's had.
No, definitely not. I could be wrong about WandaVision. IMDb is still saying only 9 episodes, but we will see.
I mean, it's fine because we've got the DC cinematic universe to lean on in the absence, right?
Well, I mean, we will in a couple of years. They've announced casting for the new Superman film, so Superman's been cast, as has... Who else is in there?
I really did enjoy all of the sort of internet memes and whatnot of the not quite Henry Cavill, where it's like, Superman, and Mum's like, no, we've got a Superman at home, and the Superman at home, and it's the photo of the new guy.
Oh, that's gold. But yeah, new Superman film is going to have Metamorpho, I think. Yes, Metamorpho's in it, as is someone else. I've gone completely blank over, but Guy Gardner, Green Lantern, is going to be played by Nathan Fillion.
Oh, yes. Which will be interesting because he was
Yeah.
always obnoxious.
Yes, he was the rude Green
I'm
Lantern. That just
I'm curious to see Nathan Fillion do this with the
yes,
bowl haircut.
yes, that's the one. Yes, but yeah, look, I haven't seen Flash, and from all reports, it is nothing much to watch apart from Michael Keaton Batman.
Yeah, I again had so much hope.
hmm Yeah, no, so much hope, but yeah, and that's going to be the last DC thing for a while before you know, what's his face gets the new DC EU up and running, which will be you know next year at the absolute earliest, probably more likely 25.
Mm. Yeah, it's an interesting space.
Anyway, speaking about
Hmm.
DC, I did watch season 4 of Titans.
I didn't realize there was a season 4 until we spoke the other day, and I haven't had a
Yes.
chance to dive in yet.
I mean, Titans is a weird one for me too because I love it, and then at the same time, it is kind of a nothing show. Like I'll watch it, and I'm like, yeah, okay. Like for season 3, for example, the first episode where you see the silhouette of Joker beating the crap out of Red Hood, or
Mm-hmm.
Robin as he is at the time, was like, oh my god, like blew my mind, and then the rest of the season just sort of dribbled away.
Yeah.
This is kind of the same. I mean, they've gone back to magic. It's all about Trigon and his heirs again, which is kind of what season 1 was. But
I just
the actors I really I really enjoy all of them. Like the guy that plays Nightwing is phenomenal.
the casting is glorious. I really enjoy the character, the concept of Teen Titans. I really enjoy that. I suppose the frustration for me is they've got such a rich option for the storylines you throw at them, and it doesn't. I mean, absolutely, you throw the Joker Red Hood origin story stuff in there. That's juicy, but it kind of they didn't really lean into it as much as they could have.
Yes.
But like the Deathstroke stuff seems to be only touch and go. Like they haven't really gone all in on that.
Yep. No, I totally agree. And
give us a Terror. Give us a Deathstroke Terror story. That would be an entire season of gold.
Yes. I mean, yeah, like I love the casting, I love all the characters, and I love how they play those characters. I think this season could have been a lot more for me if they had, a big bad that they haven't had before.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Trigon.
Just do a hive.
Yeah. Trigon, you actually see Trigon as Trigon, which is nice. And that's not, spoiling too much because there's a lot more in it than that. But it's still magic, and it's still kind of very much a Raven story.
Yeah.
So, look, enjoyed it, watched it, done.
It was season 1. There's the challenge. Like
Exactly.
make one of the others the lead.
Yeah. Agreed. Anything else?
I'm still going to watch it, and I'm still going to be super excited. I don't think so. Oh, I did watch John Wick Chapter 4.
Oh, any good?
It's exactly what you expect.
It's John Wick 1, 2, and 3.
It is
number 4.
It is what it says on the tin, and it pleases me to no end. No, it is absolutely a John Wick movie.
Okay.
It does resolve the storyline. Like there is not going to be a John Wick Chapter 5, FYI.
Look, apparently there are still discussions going on. And apparently they left it ambiguous. I don't know. I haven't seen it.
I mean, yeah, sure.
You've seen it. Like, can it be ambiguous? Can that ending be ambiguous?
Well, I mean, you can always, right?
Yeah.
Again, unless you see the full like there are things, unless
Yep.
you see literally everything, they can always pull something out. There is an amazingly ridiculous scene that I just giggled all the way through. That is a gunfight with nunchucks. I mean, he literally brought nunchucks to a gunfight, and it's the best thing in the world. They've leveled up and you've got to.
Yeah. But what was it? The guy that plays, because I've only seen the first three,
Mm-hmm.
the concierge,
Mm-hmm.
was he in this one?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Because he has since passed away,
Mm-hmm.
and he was an awesome actor.
Yes. Yes. No, he is in that one. It's interesting because obviously with the end of chapter 3, he is out of the loop. You know, he's no longer welcome at the hotels or anything. So they weave all of that right back into it, which is lovely. There's still really big involvement from the Continentals.
Yep.
And the guy who plays the manager of the Continental, I really like.
I love him. I have loved him since Deadwood.
Yeah.
Anything I see him in, like even if it's something stupid like Death Race or something like that, like he is always fun to watch.
It's glorious. He does exactly what he's supposed to. I felt with this one, actually, the piece I really liked was they gave John Wick as a character more of a history and more of a community than they had previously.
Okay.
I feel like in all of them, you kind of got the sense he had these past relationships with people, but that was actually more of the storyline than it had been previously. And I really enjoyed that. It made it gave him more of a purpose. It gave a lot of the other characters more of a purpose, and it actually started to have relationships rather than just these bit parts interspersed with gunfights. There's still a shit ton of gunfights. It's the best.
Yeah, because I'm remembering now, but there were a lot of instances in the other three where it was like, "Hey, it's you again. Are we fighting? Oh, okay, we're fighting."
Yeah.
You just seem to know everyone.
Yeah, but I feel like exactly right. In the last 3 movies, it was, "Hey, I know you. Let's fight." Whereas there was a little bit more of I don't know. They just felt like the relationships were a little bit more well established.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Cool. All right. No, I will watch that at some point when it eventually gets to a streaming service.
It is on a streaming service. I think I just had to pay $20.
Okay. When it gets free to a streaming service that I currently subscribe to.
Which is currently what I'm eyeing off with the latest Spider-Verse.
Ooh.
I need that's on streaming for ACOST. I'm pretty sure, maybe.
I have heard nothing but good things about that.
No. I need to go rewatch the last one just so I can do them both.
Yes.
I'm hanging out to see.
Waiting for Guardians. Yeah. As soon as Guardians hits Disney. Because I've heard that that's halfway decent. And I need a halfway decent Marvel film. The only other thing I've watched recently has been, I found a documentary on Netflix called Quarterback, which follows 3 NFL quarterbacks through the 2022-2023 season. And it was awesome just to watch that, see a bit of the behind the scenes, but obviously the highlights of the matches as they were playing, and hearing commentary from the quarterbacks, and they're all mic'd up so you can hear what they're saying on the field, and when shit goes wrong, it's it was an entertaining watch, so I enjoyed that. The other thing, did you ever play Twisted Metal?
I know that. Why do I know that?
PlayStation game, cars beating each other. It's like a sort of Mad Max Carmageddon style game. There was Sweet Tooth, who was the clown who drove an ice cream truck. He is the most well-known character.
This is dim, distant bells.
they've done a TV show of that.
Oh
It
my
comes out
God.
on Stan tomorrow, I think. So I need to watch that. And the main character is, and I've totally forgotten his name, but the guy that plays Falcon in the MCU.
Anthony
Yes,
Mackie.
yes, yeah. So he is the main character. But yeah,
I've seen, and it's got what's her face from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and is that the one I've seen the ads for?
I don't know. I've never seen Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
No,
9-1. What is it? What number
Brooklyn
is it?
Nine-Nine.
Okay.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Do yourself a favor. There's like 7 seasons. You'll just giggle
Sure.
your ass off.
Yeah, I've got plenty of time.
It's one of those. It's not a thinking man show.
No,
It
one of those
is
comedies,
kind of
20 minutes in the background sort of thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
But there is absolute giggle moments in every single episode. She played the lead as the voice actor in Encanto.
Very possibly.
Stephanie, what's her face? Anyway, brilliant. Yes, no, I've seen the ads for it, and I'm like, what is this? I need to see it. I didn't realize it was okay.
So I've seen a bit of the trailer, which was basically Sweet Tooth pounding the crap out of Anthony Mackie in a casino, I think, from memory. But yeah, I enjoyed playing the game, and I'm curious to see how they turn like that sort of a game into a TV show. So
yes,
I'll check that one out. Anyway,
that is watching.
That is watching. Shall we move on? Let's do some games.
Let's do some games. Before we dive into actual games, have we been? I have not been. Let's be clear, but have we been Diabloing or other things?
Yeah, look, I have. They've just released the new season, or the very first season for Diablo. So it's basically like a battle pass. You pay $15, and then as you progress, you can unlock lots of free shit for your characters.
Mm-hmm.
When I say free, you can pay $15 and then unlock everything as you go along, or you can not pay anything and then unlock something every like 5 or 10 levels, right?
Yeah, the standard pay to win thing where we're not actually paying to win, because you could technically get it without paying, but it will just cost you 3 lifetimes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they released that, and to play and to start unlocking that sort of stuff, you needed to create a new character. You couldn't use your old character, which people were a bit up in arms about.
Rage.
Plus, they released a patch at the same time, which apparently nerfed a whole heap of characters, and the sorcerer in particular, I believe. So people were up in arms about that. But I thought, yeah, fuck it, why not? So I started a new character, and I started a sorcerer, and I've been running around with her, and I've hit level 25 now.
Mm-hmm.
I skipped the whole campaign. So because I've already finished that, I had an option where I could skip it, and I've just gone into the new stuff and just wandered around, done my own thing. I was tempted. I wasn't sure how much I'd play it, so I was not sure whether I should get the battle pass or not. I was like, $15 is not much, considering I never paid for the game in the first place. Because
makes it a little bit more palatable, yes.
Which is, and incidentally, the guy who my Xbox and his account are linked up, and he buys all his games download, so I can just download them for nothing. I don't think I've seen him on Diablo. I've been playing it nonstop, and I don't think I've ever seen him actually playing it. So I'm getting a lot more value out of his money than he is. But I was very tempted, simply because the first 2 levels in the battle pass, which are not free, but they give you like an awesome looking horse that you can travel around in. And traveling on a horse is a lot faster than traveling not on horse. But then, the other night I jumped in and I thought, okay, and every now and then they do these events where a whole heap of monsters will spawn, and you can team up with a whole heap of other people and try and take them down. If you do them in a certain time period or in a certain way, then you get lots of treasure. And if you don't do it, but you still survive, you get a bit of treasure. Anyway, I joined one of those, and we smashed through it. And so 2 big chests dropped. And in the first one was a
shiny
ghost horse.
Ghost horse?
Ghost horse. So my horse is actually now better than the one I think on the battle pass. So I don't
Does
think I'll
that
be buying it.
does that mean your character now is Ghost Rider?
Yeah, except there's no flames. Disappointing.
Get something with flames. I mean, that's an easy fix, surely.
Well, the armor. I'm sure there's some armor which has a bit of flames on it. I could have flaming armor on a ghost horse. That would be kind of cool.
Yep.
Anyway, Diablo, a lot of fun. Still enjoying it. Still playing it. Good
Point,
value.
mash things.
Definitely
Yes.
worth the money I paid.
It's the only reason I haven't, because I've paid for too many other things. I'm like, I can't. I just no.
I just
need
can't
to
get
not.
off it like every now and then. And, I've been working quite a bit recently. And so, I'll come home, I'll be exhausted, and I might jump on and just kill shit for an hour or two. Just to
It's a good one
zone
for
out.
that.
It's really good for that.
I don't. And then we've also got Baldur's Gate coming out
Mhm.
sometime soon, which is dangerous. And then I saw the price, and it was less dangerous.
I'm very tempted. There is a new expansion for Power Wash Simulator, which is the first paid for one, which is the only reason I haven't got it yet. I haven't splashed out on the $11 or $12 that it costs to get it.
You haven't splashed out on
I know,
Power
right?
Wash Simulator.
Pun
That was
intended.
glorious. That was amazing.
This one is SpongeBob.
Fuck
I'm
me.
still tempted. One day I'll grab it, and then I'll be washing a pineapple under the sea with a power washer.
What? Anyway,
All right, games. Actual games. So there was a friend of in the Discord, Moose, is a big Underworlds player. He has organized a number of games recently, and not Monday that's just gone, but the Monday previous, we were all set to go and play.
Mm-hmm.
Then I realized that I was a couple of days into a 7-day stretch, and I was absolutely exhausted, and I didn't quite make it. But you did.
I did, and that was the second lot of Underworlds I'd played in recent history. So I did randomly rock into, because they've been doing it on kind of the alternate Mondays where we don't have Blood Bowl League night, and also on Wednesday night. So there's a lot of Underworlds getting played at the moment. So I went in for just one of the randoms. I had basically bowed out for a fair amount of time because of the original series, or the original few seasons, pay to win kind of aesthetic. Aesthetic is the wrong word, but it's the kind of concept that you needed to build a deck. You need the best cards, but 3 of the best cards are in this deck, and you don't need this crew box, but you do need those 3 cards. And then it got really Pokemon kind of have to catch them all to
really
be vaguely into it.
I still collected every single warband from like the first 3 seasons, I think. And then I did the same. I bowed out, and I bought the most not even the most recent box, but I bought one of the more recent boxes that had the new Skaven team in it, but that's the only thing I've bought since.
Yeah. So the newest season box, whatever, has multiple formats. So you can still do balls in, pay to win, collect them all, build the ultimate deck kind of approach. But they've bought out and they've really supported this concept of rivals, which is basically you take the crew you bought and the cards that came with them in the pre-done deck, and off you go. And what they're doing to support that, as well as that, is they've brought out just generic rivals decks that you can play with any crew. So the decks are pre-made. There's no chopping and changing.
My understanding of these pre-built decks, though, is surely a deck that you buy is going to have some sort of a theme, obviously, and is going to be more structured or better played with certain warbands.
Correct.
And that's what I can't work out.
there is, as an example, a tooth and claw one, which is very punchy. There is a couple of ones which are magic-y focused. There's a couple that are kind of more movement focused or objective focused. So the rivals decks definitely do, but it also means that for some of those earlier warbands that haven't got enough cards in the base deck, basically, there is generally a rivals deck that will fit their style.
Mm-hmm.
Which just means that a lot of the earlier warbands are more playable than they've ever been.
Which is good.
Which is glorious. And I assume the more that they bring out rivals decks, the more that's going to give you options. But as I said, there's been quite a few games played. So I've played at least 3 games in the last few weeks. So I did one against Moose where I ran the Slanesh guys.
Yep.
I don't know their names.
Lusty good.
Those ones. Face. Yeah. And look, they were good. I still don't entirely understand how they're supposed to work yet, but that's fine. They're pretty. They punch things. So that was the first game. That was kind of a warm up. Let's remember how this game plays. See what's changed. Because again, just between editions, there's enough that changes that we're just like, oh, that's new. I didn't expect that to work like that because it didn't work like that last time. But so that was a good just refresher and a bit of a get up to speed with the changes. And then 2 games the other night on that exact night. Mm-hmm. So the first one again, I ran actually one of the Savage Orc warband. So I just stole a warband from somebody who already had them on the table against the Dark Elf, the K-Knight Dark Elfie Witch chicks.
I've got those sitting here to be assembled. I think that was the other one that came in that box with the Skaven.
Yeah, they're pretty. They're fun, and I got a little bit excited because basically the first thing I did with an orc smushed one into red mist, and I went, "Oh, I'll just do that." And then less smushing happened, and they run around, and there's one that's half a snake, and she just shot the piss out of me for the rest of the game. But that was, again, it was good fun. It was just getting into it. It is just starting to understand get beyond the base mechanic and start understanding how the game works, which is really good fun. And they're so quick, the games. It's so easy to pick up. Now that you don't have to dick around with decks, you can actually start thinking about, instead of going, what card do I need to put in or take out, or how am I going to do the deck? You can be like, here is the deck. How do I make it work in these scenarios? And I like that bit of the game more than I like the how am I going to build. And then I played the vampires.
Now, this is the thing. This is what I want to know, because I love those vampire models.
They're very pretty.
I painted mine up. I was really happy with how I painted mine up. Literally just followed one of the GW paint this way videos, but really happy with how mine turned out. And I really want to play them. But I have no idea what sort of rivals deck would be good for them.
I mean, their base set works. So and that's all I used. I just used all the faction cards.
Yep. That just means I need to get them out of the folder and work out which ones are which.
Yeah, you just got to find the ones with the right little symbol on them.
Okay.
Mine was still in the box the day before I played. I assembled them the night before, so that was nice and easy. So yeah, I just ran the faction deck with them, and it was fun. There's a little bit of the complexity with them is they've got this mechanic where they get hungry. So they get hunger tokens and they lose hunger tokens, and that's great. So you've got the base side of the card, you've got the inspired side of the card, and then you've got another effect or another thing that happens when they get hungry. So it kind of feels like their card has 3 faces.
Okay.
Because it flips depending on whether they're hungry.
They're constantly flipping too, aren't they? To a degree.
Yeah. But as I said, it's basically like they've got 3 faces to the card. It's not just normal and inspired. It's normal and inspired and hungry
Gotcha.
for each of the characters. But they get glory for doing nothing, it seems, just out of the faction deck. And they're very pretty. And now they do exactly what they say on the tin. I still struggle, though, with the concept that everybody is super fragile. And I keep forgetting how easy it is for shit to die in Underworlds, because even a strong character is like 5 wounds,
Yep.
which is killable, eminently killable.
Yes. Yeah, no, very much so. Which made it kind of cool. And
Yes.
you know, why I had a bit of fun playing some of those teams that were able to bring things back, like the Skaven or the Ghouls or...
Well, I mean, the fun one was Moose was playing the water elves. I don't know what they call
With the
the
crab?
deepkin with the crab and the
Okay.
fish
Yep.
and the thing, and the fish is fucking annoying. So the way this plays out, and they've got a couple of options to, they can bring one of their guys back, but the fish, you put down a little counter in a turn at the end of a turn or something, and then, or at the end of an activation, and then you can put the fish there.
Okay.
And the fish is there, and he acts as a support. And if you murder the fish, you get no glory. And then he puts a little token down, and then the fish appears. And he's just an irritating little jerk of a thing. So, you know, there was that, and then there was his little spear guy that came back. I can't remember exactly what that mechanic is, but, you know, it's not like a resummon every other day, but it's a thing. Whereas the vampires, there's only 4 of them, but they are pretty savage. And there's a lot of options for upgrades and stuff. Like, they do cool stuff. Definitely need a little bit more play. Like, the one I need to play a bit more to get my head around, I think.
Yep.
But it did remind me that it is just a fun game. Like, it's not a huge model count. It's not a massive investment. You can just buy a box and off you go. Moose knows all the rules, so I don't have to. You know, there's all kinds of goodness.
Yeah, no, I want to play a bit more. I do want to try the vampires properly. I remember I bought them, I painted them, I made a deck specifically for them, and then never actually played with them. I did hear that they were fairly, you know, that whole glory for nothing and a little bit overpowered, which is kind of a deterrent, because you know, if you want to play something which is going to be a fair fight for everyone. It's kind of like the whole Mollog thing. When Mollog came out, Mollog was like an absolute beast and nobody could beat him.
It is, but I also feel like when Mollog came out, that was the case. When the vampires came out, that was a case. There's been an entire edition rules change since then. There's been a rebalance of the format. There's been, you know, a lot of extra stuff done, and it feels like, you know, their point in time brokenness is probably not. I mean, I somehow still managed.
All the more reason to find a nice rivals deck that'll work with them. Which, you know,
yeah, and I think, you know, this is probably a whole other episode, right? But because we were talking about I was talking to Moose about bloat in the game, and the fact that there are so many more crews, and so many more warbands, and so many more things. Like, there's just more stuff, and to keep expanding on the game, you have to keep doing that. And that also the point that it feels like the longer we go on, the more words are on cards. Like, I go back to the season 1 decks and the fighter cards, and the font was bigger, you know. So, which is fine, and I get it, right? But it was probably that piece. But I feel like, you know, Mollog was good in Mollog's day, but Mollog's day was a whole edition or two ago. You know, same for the vampires, and then you throw in a rivals format, and it's almost like going Blood Bowl 11s versus Blood Bowl 7s. Okay. Different things have different strengths. Yeah, I really enjoyed I probably enjoyed the Rivals format more than I've enjoyed playing Underworlds to date.
Okay, that's good.
And probably just because I have to do less prep work. But there was also a comment there around you could just get a Rivals deck as a concept and play that and swap out the warband, because the fighter cards actually change less than if you know the deck and you know what the deck does. The fighters have less change for you to manage than if you were changing the deck every game.
Yep, no, that makes sense.
So you, so I think there's different ways you could play it out too.
Intriguing. I'll have to
It's
get
fun.
a game in soon.
Yes, I'm keen for more. It's good fun. But we also played other things.
We did. So when was it? It was Friday week ago, wasn't it?
Yes.
So the monthly Marvel Crisis Protocol night at Throw the Dice, which is currently in talks, I believe, to be fortnightly rather than monthly, because there were quite a few games going on, which was nice.
I think there was 6 or so games getting played.
And this is the first time we've played for a while, so I think we both kind of wanted somebody to sort of direct us a little bit through.
Absolutely. It would been so long since we'd played, and even when we had played a little bit, I think we were still in that phase of we had learnt the rules by reading the rules, and invariably you get shit wrong.
It's the whole point of this podcast.
It is. But, the second you're playing in a vacuum, there's just stuff that you either agree to or read communally wrong, or somebody says this is how it works and everyone believes them and doesn't check. So it was just nice to get somebody who knew more than us, low bar, but somebody to go, right, well, here's where it's at today too, because again, it's changed. They've had FAQs and stuff.
The whole, the layouts that you set up with for the different crises are all different. Well, a whole heap of them are different and have had changed since we played last, basically.
They've done a big balancing act, because last time we played, I think they'd just done a big balancing act to a lot of the actual character cards.
Yes.
But they'd done that to the crises, so the objectives and stuff as well. They basically did a big balancing act and reprint of those. And obviously there's a whole lot of other characters and stuff that have come out since then as well that I haven't seen on the table before.
Yes.
So
it was good to see a lot of those. There's some of those characters I've bought but haven't played with. I think I saw 2 Gwenpools there, didn't I? Was it 2?
I'll say yes.
I definitely saw at least one.
Yeah.
And she's the one that I'm currently painting up. So, for example, but there were, who were you playing? It was.
So I was playing Wade.
And
he was running
spiders.
Yeah, so he had Peter, but the bigger Peter that comes in the Doc Ock diorama. So Peter, Doc Ock, Miles, Gwen Stacy, Loki was the splash character he chucked in there. Yeah. So I think that was it. So I mean, between Doc Ock and Peter, they were both pretty big, imposing pieces, and then he had this little kind of pool of Miles, Gwen, Loki running at me up the other side as well. But again, I hadn't seen any of them played yet.
Yep. Because none of them are characters that I'd buy generally. So that's the benefit of playing outside this vacuum, so to speak.
Yeah. And just seeing different people, try different stuff, do different things. Like the game I was watching him play before was a different crew, and he had bloody Immortal Hulk, the new big one. Table next to us had the big Hulk Buster.
Yep.
So kicking around the middle of the table, it's just such an imposing piece. And then a whole bunch of models I hadn't seen on the table. I was watching one of the other games when there was kind of a MODOK and an Arnim Zola and a few of them that are like, I hadn't seen any of them in the flesh yet.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I think there was 5 games the whole night, maybe 5 or 6. But yeah, there was so many pieces that I had not seen in the flesh, and different ways of playing different characters. It was a really cool night, and
Yeah.
if you are interested in Crisis Protocol, really suggest you get down to something like the Throw the Dice monthly thing. Even if you've got no models and whatever, there was a guy there who had bought the starter box and was
Yep.
getting his very first game ever.
Mm-hmm.
And these guys are awesome at that.
It was
Chris,
great. We
yeah,
both rocked in and were just like, so keen. It's been a long time. Can somebody, just hold our hands,
yeah,
shepherd us through this? And literally, a couple of guys just lined up. They put together a crew on the spot that went, here's your suit, here you go, and honestly did help us through the game. And it was just even if they weren't telling us what to do, when, why, because I like learning the hard way, but it was
yeah,
just really just making it really clear about, if we're talking about a combat, these are the steps, this is the order, this is what you do first, this is you resolve, and then you do the next thing, and just
yeah,
managing that a little bit, so I didn't have to be like, oh, so what can I do this now? Can I re-roll that one? And he's like, no, first we do this. Right, when that's done, now step 2 is,
yeah.
and it's lovely to have that kind of structure, I suppose.
Yeah, it's just awesome to not only find a game that is really fun to play, but to find a group of people playing said game who will
Mm-hmm.
go all out to share their love of
Mm-hmm.
that game. And it's not like you're gonna sit down across from somebody, try and learn a game, and they smash the crap out of you and move on with their life. These guys were absolutely, like, Chris was stepping me through step by step, absolute baby steps, and a lot of it was very familiar and came back to me very quickly, but he was still explaining everything really nice and easy for me.
Mm-hmm.
um, he took me through a game. He used basically the Avengers, so it was like Iron Man, Cap, Bucky, I'm trying to remember. Thor was there, and there was one other, and I'm totally forgetting who the fifth one was.
Surely it's got to be a cheapie like a Hawkeye or someone,
I think it was
or a Widow.
was it Iron Machine? Iron
Oh, War
War
Machine.
Machine, I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway, I threw together a little X Force team. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I've got a couple of X Force guys now. I may as well try and use them. So I stuck Cable on the field, which I'd never used Cable before. Deadpool, Wolverine, Sabretooth, and Toad. That was my team, and I really enjoyed X Force.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they are a lot. They're more designed to hurt the opponent, so there's a lot of shooting and re-rolling dice when you're attacking and all sorts of stuff. And my dice worked quite well, and I took out a couple of his guys. Didn't help me because the idea of Crisis is to actually do the objectives more so than kill your opponent. But and the dice are always going to be up and down anyway, so my dice happened to be up this game, which meant I killed a few of his guys. But that's not going to happen all the time. But
No.
I really enjoyed the X-Force team per se.
Yeah, and I ran the Wakandan guys. So I
Mm-hmm.
was running Panther, Storm, Shuri, Okoye, Killmonger.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was about it. Can't remember. That'll do. Um, and it was, again, the first time I'd really played them. So, possibly a rookie mistake, but here we are. But it was good just getting a little bit of an insight into how, because most of their stuff is reliable dice. Like, you're not doing heaps of
Mm-hmm.
stuff with all of them, but you're getting a lot of re-rolls through different effects and buffs and things. So it was really good having Wade step me through and being like, here's when this thing applies, because where you do rerolls versus where you can and can't and how that kind of works was actually pretty important for understanding the faction. And then, things like Loki was good fun, actually. He's got an ability where I think, I can't remember if it's just when he's injured, but you don't get your critical hits get an extra dice. No,
Yep.
you don't get that. If you want to spend power to do a superpower, you need to spend an additional power to do the superpower. So he's just got this aura of dicking you around, which is fun. Again, just fun to negotiate. And then fortunately, we got a couple of the objectives that I was familiar with, which was nice. Yep. So we got hammers. We got the whatever it is, the worthy one.
Yeah, we played hammers as well.
We got to pick up hammers and run around and whack people with hammers, which is always fun. And even just stuff like when somebody drops a hammer, where it goes and who places and that kind of stuff. It was good just to get that, having someone know what they were doing,
yes.
Who was really, really focused on making it clear what happens when and why. It was lovely.
Yeah. I think I don't know how your game was, but for my game, pretty much, I mean, the score wasn't really important.
No.
Like, we were scoring as we should be.
It let us know when to stop the game.
Yes. Incidentally, I got to double figures, so I was very proud of myself. I think it ended up, because it's first to 16 points. Chris ended up on 15 at one point, and so he would have gotten like 2 or 3 or 4 in the last round, but I got up to 11, so I was happy.
I think Wade was being very nice to me because he even, when I showed up on the table, he put away the crew he was playing and pulled out the spiders.
Yep.
So I managed the 16, but I feel like a lot of that was him playing very nicely, and also his dice not doing what his dice was supposed to do at times. You roll a big old handful and there's a lot of blanks. You're like, shit.
Yeah. I mean, we play Blood Bowl. We know what dice are like.
And I think that's the thing about Crisis Protocol that I kind of enjoy, is that there are more dice than there are in Blood Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of makes it feel, and I don't know, I haven't done the math right, but it feels swingy in that on a dice, there are more successes to hit than there are to defend. So on average, you're going to do more hits.
Yep.
But you can go one way or the other. Like you can go a billion, you can get 100% damage, or you can do very, very little. And the amount of times that people were taking minimal to no damage seemed inconsistent with the odds.
Because you're rolling a lot less dice in defense than you are in attack most of the time. So they might hit you with an 8 dice huge attack, and then you're rolling your 3 dice in defense.
And even then, the odds of hitting, I think, are better than the odds of defending. So there's the odds are not forever in your favor, but sometimes it just works, and I like that.
It was good. It was good fun.
It gave us big superhero moments too. Like we were throwing shit at each other, and you had at one stage there, Spider-Man kicked Black Panther like halfway across the table between attacks and abilities and stuff, and then Black Panther got up and murdered him. So it felt cinematic. No, it was good. We enjoyed it.
Yeah. No, definitely. Again, Crisis Protocol, one we recommend. It's a good fun game. Nice and straightforward too.
Yeah, it's not.
The trickiest part is working out what your characters do and all their special abilities. Basics of the game, very simple.
Yeah, and I mean that is probably the thing I think that will trip me up for the next however long, is because there are so many more characters now. So you're for a long time you're going to be coming up against things that you hadn't seen necessarily, but also. So what? If you don't care, it's not an issue.
That's it. We're not playing tournaments or anything like that for it. It's just for fun. You do this, and then you do this, and then you do this, and then you get your 2 actions. Oh, okay, cool. That sounds like fun. Maybe I'll
Can
buy
do.
that model.
Damn them. That's what they're up to.
That's what it's all about. So you played Underworlds, we've played Crisis. One more game. What was that? One more
Well,
game
I
we
will
played.
say before we get into
Oh,
one more
go
game
on.
we played, I did sneak in a sneaky game of Blood Bowl 11s.
Ooh.
So
Tabletop or?
tabletop.
Mm-hmm.
So I was chatting to Phil from a
Yep.
previous episode, who was attending a tournament and he wanted to try out the list beforehand. And he happened to have an evening free. So we just booked a table at Throw the Dice and I rocked up.
Yep.
And so I tried one of the 7 lists I have floating around my head for Mayhem, and put the frogs on the
Is it
table.
still 7 lists or is it now 6?
Oh, no, I think the thing I am still remembering, right, is how punchier, how many more blocks are thrown in 11s.
Yep.
And, that's partially to the fact that I haven't been playing any online at all either. So it's all been 7s, and my play style has very much adjusted to 7s. And I got pounded. Like it's just, and again, I was playing Slan, so it takes a little bit to rejig the brain to go, right, this is what you can do, this is when you should do, this is when you shouldn't. It's very easy to get suckered into everyone has leap, so you need to leap with everybody all the time.
But you've got rerolls now.
Well, I did, but I used them pretty
Leap.
quickly. They came up real quick. So I need to either get better at rolling dice or maybe go with one of the higher reroll count rosters. But he did pound the living shit out of my team. I managed to somehow squeeze it back to a 2-1 loss.
Okay.
He was running Old World Alliance.
With
So
dwarves.
again, he got to put some dwarves on, but he got to put some dwarves with a blitzer and an ogre and some stuff that could move as well. The bloody human catcher with move 7 or 8 or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah, I think he's 8.
And then again, you're running dwarves, but both of the dwarves that weren't a troll slayer had guard.
Mm-hmm.
And they just sat in the middle directly behind the line of scrimmage going, right, now everybody hits with 2 dice. Please go away. And the frogs, and again, it's doing silly things like relying on armor 9 to survive. Alas.
Armor 9 should be decent.
Should be. No, it was well played by Phil. It also reminded me, with a slightly longer game, you can afford to really focus on which pieces you don't like.
Mm-hmm.
He looked at my roster and went, I don't like that one and I don't like this one. And they were the ones for the first half of the game he just stomped the living shit out of until they were gone and off the pitch. He had, because he was running the Alliance, who actually worked really well, by the way. The halfling just ran up and kicked somebody every single turn. The dwarves sat there and just gave guard assists to each other, if not anyone else. You had a catcher and a blitzer there as kind of a scoring threat, and then basically everyone else had block because they're not a high tier. So, and he was running a tournament kind of pack. So plenty of skills to splash around. It was a fun game. Went for twice as long as I remember. In that it didn't. It went for the 2 hours or 2.5 hours or whatever it was. So it's actually pretty standard for a game of Blood Bowl 11s, but it just feels like such a long time now.
Yeah, I'm worried. I mean, I bought my ticket for Mayhem pretty much as soon as they went up. So I dare say, if they were to number the tickets, I'd be, one of the first 5.
Single digits, yeah.
Yeah, single digits for sure. That being said, I am terrified of what to play and how to play it. And
I'm going to be exhausted by the end of the day.
It's going to be a totally different experience than one of our tournaments, let's say.
Mm.
I'm looking forward to it, but it's going to be a
Oh,
totally
yeah.
different experience.
No, it'll be fun, but yeah.
Mm.
Whew. Brain will be fried.
Oh,
They'll
yeah.
be doing silly ass shit by the end of that.
As opposed to sevens.
Which is another game. I mean, that's a fact. It's another game.
Yes.
I mean, it's sort of the same game, but a different format. Does that make it a different game? I don't know. Maybe I'm lying. But also, it is a game that we may or may not have played.
Yes. So, round 3 of the current league, we got paired up against each other.
Which is the first time we have played in what feels like forever.
It seems like a while, doesn't it?
I cannot remember the last time we played a game, let alone a game of Blood Bowl.
Anyway, so yeah, it's like you were sitting at the top of the ladder. I think I was about 4th, but this is only after 2 games, so anything can happen in the next couple of rounds anyway. But you're playing. What are you playing this season?
I'm playing Amazons. So
Amazons.
the roster is pretty. I mean, I feel like it writes itself. They now have a strength 4 player, and you can take 2 of them. So you take 2 of them.
Yep.
And then the blitzers, who were kind of the mandatory piece, lost block. So they aren't as good as they're different to what they were. I went with 2 of them as kind of more versatile pieces. There's a thrower, which would be the other option, but I've left her at home because who plays throwing? So it's basically 2 blockers, 2 blitzers, 3 linemen. There's your 7 pieces. It's a little bit scary when everybody's armor 8, but here we are. We'll get a bench at some stage. And then I've managed so far, I've got a blitzer with Fend and one of the blockers with Frenzy, which one day I will remember.
So I'm playing Lizards, obviously. I had... so this is game 3. So game 1, I think one of my skinks got... Was it defensive?
Diving
I'm not
tackle?
100% sure. No, because that was my skink from game 2. The skink from game 1 that got his skill decided after game 2 to leave me. So I was back down to 7 players against you. So I still had the diving tackle skink from game 2. So 3 skinks, 3 Sorai, and 8 crocs. And I was expecting this to be sort of a runaround game and potentially high scoring, kind of like I was expecting my game against Ant to be. Wasn't necessarily that.
It was not. And I mean, let's be clear. I went into this game going, right, 3 skinks is the best number of skinks I can be dealing with for me, in that they die a lot easier than the rest of the team and no one else can touch the ball. So if I can murder a couple of skinks, we're looking pretty good.
Which is the stock standard response to Lizards. That's how you play against them.
And often people do silly things because you can do silly things with skinks, and as long as you can jump on a little lizard as he tries to duck his head around, it's happy days. Alas, you were very restrained with the skinks for the first half of that game.
Look, I mean, part of that is that you kicked to me and it was instantly a touchback. And so I stuck it on a skink and you said, but there's a Crocs there. I went, of course there is. So I stuck it on the Crocs just for shits and giggles.
I regretted my decision immediately.
I was thinking, how many times am I going to roll Bonehead on my way to eventually get maybe close to the end zone? I don't think I did roll it with him when he had the ball, but he didn't have the ball for very long. And especially when I think at least the first turn, definitely, and maybe the second or the third turn was like double skulls from like my first punch. And after that, I was thinking, well, it's going to be one of these games. Okay, fair enough.
I was very excited after those first couple of rolls because, I felt a little bit bad because you'd done very sensible things and then just sculled yourself down. I'm like, shit, I might have a chance here.
Mhm.
Because you would also, I mean, correctly, you had a Crocs with the ball. But you had him, you had some Saurus around him, and you had a little gaggle of skinks just following him from behind, going,
Yep.
any second now, he might pass it to me. He might just give it to me and then I can run. So I was very aware of that, but it was also very hard to get to the little bastards.
I mean, that was one option. I'm also very aware of how well my skinks have picked up the ball for the last 2 games. So I wasn't overly enthusiastic about having to roll any sort of ball handling dice with them.
Yeah. I mean, if you could just walk a Crocs over the line, that's a win, right? You don't have to roll
Yes,
dice for that.
exactly. That was
But
option A.
there was absolutely an option B standing there I had to deal with as well. And so here I am trying to cover lanes for skinks to dive through, while trying to somehow stop a Crocs from just wandering his ass up the field. But whilst your ball handling dice have been forsaking you, I would say that your armor dice have been okay.
Yeah, it seemed to be. I mean, my Saurus were falling over their own tails and giving you wide open access to the Crocs with the ball to punch him and eventually get him down. But after that, I started to get through a bit of your armor and I started actually punching people. And I think I ended up, like, first half, spoiler, was 0-all. I think I had injured 2 of your guys at that point.
At least 2. I think
Yeah.
there was 3 off the pitch.
Yeah. Which gave me a bit of an advantage, I must say. And I think there was the passing option, wasn't there, in like turn 6, where I managed to pick up the ball with a skink and had to throw it to another skink to be able to score, and actually managed the throw but failed the catch because my skinks don't know how to handle a ball.
Yeah, it was so close. It was glorious. There was dodges, there was the pickup, there was the go for it, there was the throw, and then nothing.
Yep.
It was an accurate throw from a skink. It was going to be a thing of beauty.
But alas.
0-all. And that was so I won the toss. I'd elected to kick with the logic that you could outbash me, and I wanted as many people on the pitch as possible to defend.
Mm-hmm.
So then it was my turn to receive, and I did not have as many people on the pitch as possible.
It turns out you need people to actually score as well.
Yeah, I mean, fewer.
Fewer, correct. But people to protect the people that are trying to score is always a good thing.
Yeah. Useful. And so, I mean, that second half, I feel like you got a really good kickoff, if I remember rightly. So my first turn was basically retrieve the ball and hang out in my third.
Yep.
I managed to kind of sneak up the sideline. I got a little bit ballsy running up the sideline, and that bloody diving tackle skink couldn't put down.
I used him well. I think I also used the Crocs quite well, just by putting him with his prehensile tail, making you try and dodge away from that.
Mm-hmm.
Make it harder to dodge away from that. I think, I did that reasonably well. And then, you got away and almost got down there, and I just loaded guys around you, and one of my skinks got pushed into the crowd,
which felt good. But unfortunately, it meant that I didn't get the results that I needed to be able to break away cleanly, and I didn't. And then I just hoped that your dice failed, and they didn't. And then you got the touchback, or when the crowd threw the ball back in.
Yes,
because
so
I had it. I
you
had about
pushed
3
my
players on
skink
the
out.
pitch.
Yeah, you pushed my skink out, but your ball handler was still standing right next to the edge as well.
Yeah,
and so I pushed him out, or her rather.
Yeah. And look, I knew it was basically one of those just scenarios where I'm like, I could try and dodge her out, but she's just going to fall over and spill the ball anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So at least if I make you roll the dice.
Yeah, I have rolled double skulls a couple of times this game.
And from memory, you at least needed to put somebody else next to
Mm.
her as well to block a square beforehand. So I'm like,
Yep.
you've got to fail a dodge and the block. Maybe it could
No,
happen.
I had to punch somebody out of the way so that one of my other guys could blitz in. I think that was
Yeah.
pretty much how it worked.
Yeah. So, I mean, you had to roll dice and they had to fail. That was the dream. Because if they had failed, I was home and hosed. But
Yep.
alas, here we are. So ball went out. Ball got thrown the entire way across the pitch.
Yep.
The crowd on the other side threw it back down towards your end. And by this stage, I think I had 3 players left on the pitch, all of them on their asses.
Mm-hmm.
And they just could not quite make it.
Stuck that Crocs next to as many of them as I could and actually managed to pick up the ball, which
It's
was,
rude.
I know.
Again, I was relying on that failing too.
Which has pretty much failed like all both
I
the
thought
other
that was
games.
a safe bet. I'm like,
It would have been. Should have been. But yeah, so a 1-0 victory to me, which puts me on top of the ladder now, which is kind of scary.
it's we've still got Mark and Yelv to play, right?
Oh, yeah. Like, I'm not going to be there for long. I think Ant and Pip are playing as we
They
speak.
played tonight. That was a 2-1 to the Dark Elves.
Okay, yep. That might have even pushed me off. I don't know. But, yeah, we got a couple more games in this season anyway, so anything can happen.
Oh, and
We got-
this division is rough. Like, not rough, it's fun.
Yeah.
But there's no sleeping games. There's no games where you can kind of
No.
have a nice cruisy one.
Yeah, so
Ant's still not doing that great, but he's just making sure.
yes, no. So I've played Ant and Pip so far.
Yeah,
and yeah, Pip's not having a much
playing
fun with the
vampires.
vampires.
We're having a conversation about how unplayable they are at the moment. So
if only they released some new rules for them and a new team.
I'm curious to see what they do, but we'll see. Yeah, there's literally there's no sleeping. I'm actually every single game in this division is tricky.
Yep. Yeah, so what do we got? So Division 1, Lizards, Chaos Chosen, Amazon, Human, 2 Chaos Chosen. Oh, good. Dark Elf, Snotling, Vampires. Division 2, we've got Wood Elves at the top at the moment after 3 games, closely followed by Dark Elves, Amazon, Norse, Necromantic, another Norse, Slan, and then Snotlings at the bottom. But yeah, I think we keep this division type thing going for the next couple of seasons. Yeah. We'll drop the bottom 2 from Division 1 will drop down, top 2 from Division 2 will come up for the next season. So have a bit of fun, reorganize things a bit that way. Keep it competitive in Division 1 for sure.
Yeah. I think what will be interesting is if we get new players, where they bounce into, and whether we make judgment calls based on the player or an experience, or we'll see how it plays out. But
yeah, definitely.
The idea with this though is that you're playing with people of a similar experience level. So you haven't got that situation where it's your second game and somebody's rolling in, particularly when it's a league, and being like, well, I've played for the last 30 years, and having a really clear advantage. It also means that you've got the fear of relegation from Division 1, and the ridicule that will follow, Pip. And
or the other way around, and actually deciding to try and get relegated so that you can stomp over Division 2 next season.
I hadn't considered that. Wait a second, pick a minute. But also from the Division 2 piece around, can you get up into the
Yep.
Division 1, and then stay
I
there.
mean, we've been lucky with the league has always been fun and friendly and new player friendly, I think. So, we're always happy to give out demo games and to, teach anyone that we're playing against, how to play the game because we love it so much. The same thing is, what I said about the guys at Marvel. We want more people, more fun, more Blood Bowl. And the way that
Blood
you
Bowl
do
is
that,
always more fun.
the way you do that is not by being a dick.
Correct. It was a bit of a torn kind of thing when we started talking about divisions because sometimes having that super experienced person help you through a game early on is actually really useful. But there is now enough players that have got enough games under their belt that it's not kind of as critical as it was a couple of seasons ago. It's not like there's 3 people who know how to play the game and a bunch of people learning. There's a lot of people across it that have played a lot of Blood Bowl and have got, 90% of the rules down.
Yeah. This is the first season for a while that I haven't thought to myself, okay, well, this person, I need to put them against me and Jace in rounds 1 and 2 so that we can, guide them along, help them out, teach them the ropes, that sort of thing. So, not that we mind doing that at all, but we just didn't need to this season with the players that we've got.
Yeah. I'm perfectly fine considering that for future seasons. So if you are interested in playing the game, we should talk.
We should talk a lot.
And then we should play Blood Bowl because talking is for chums. You know what's great? Playing Blood Bowl.
Why not talking while playing Blood Bowl?
I mean, you kind of have to. That's part of it. Otherwise, I don't know. How would you... It'd make for a very interesting... I'm very curious. So there's a few guys going to the World Cup. And I believe English is the official language of the World Cup. But a language barrier must add an extra level of complexity in competitive Blood Bowl. I'm always curious how that makes it. Timed rounds, competitive environment, honor and country and all of that shit on the line that no one actually gives a fuck about, but it's fun.
Just a lot of pointing, I think.
Yeah.
Roll dice.
2 dice, yeah.
Anyway, shall we wrap it up?
I mean, we should have probably about an hour ago. But let's do that.
All right. A couple of quick things to mention. We still have the July giveaway going on Facebook. You've got a couple more days to get in on that. Win yourself a copy of Marvel United, the core set, which is a fantastic game. And again, one of our all-time favorites. But even more importantly, Why So Serious, number 2, coming up, end of the year. Tickets on sale now. We should get players back out.
We should do that.
Yep.
Let's do
anyway, yeah. Thanks for listening. By all means, give us a follow. Facebook, Spotify, Podbean, Twitch, Twidbean. What are all the new ones? There's a whole heap of new stuff. Like Twitter's dying, and now there's Threads and Blue Sky, and now Kick. There's Kick instead of Twitch.
Oh, is that a thing?
Yeah.
And we don't have a TikTok. We should probably get a TikTok.
Is there some way of signing up for everything and then just linking it so you just need to do one thing?
Surely. Yeah, no, there is. I just don't know how many of those are paid services, and I don't really want to pay for things.
Fair enough. Nah.
Like you could do something with Hootsuite or something where it just published to everything, but yeah.
OnlyFans. Forgot about OnlyFans. How could I forget about OnlyFans? By all means, follow us on OnlyFans. Or don't, because we've got an OnlyFan, and then I'll have to change his name if somebody else decides to follow us on OnlyFans as well.
I mean, he will always be the OG OnlyFan.
That's true. He could be OG.
He'll always be our first.
Thank you. Thanks again to our Patreons. If you like what we do for God knows whatever reason, I don't know why you would, but let's just say, some sort of mental deficiency that you've got, and you want to give us money to help us run these competitions, and
There's one
and
thing
support.
we're happy to do. It's take advantage of the mentally deficient.
Yes. By all means, jump on Patreon, couple of bucks a month, and you'll get a shout out here. You'll get entry into our Patreon only giveaways each month, and we really appreciate that. That's the money that goes straight into the prizes. So all of that eventually goes back to the Patreons anyway, and not just the Patreons, but the people that enter our competitions as well. And as always, huge thanks every episode to our thoughtless patrons, Alice, Clinton, Kingsley. Much appreciated, guys, for all your support in every way.
Like a good brazier.
Yes. On that note,
I'll stop talking.
laters.
Gotcha.
The less casual gaming. The less casual gaming. The less casual gaming. The less casual gaming. It's hard to say if it's hard to play when you don't know the rules of the game. Roll the dice with bad advice. The outcome is